Okay. Thanks for tuning in. It's week 2 of the NFL season, and the Bedtime Battle Fantasy Football Podcast is here to help go over all of the matchups for the week and highlighting any interesting stuff. We'll talk about the upcoming games this weekend. But first,
shout out Hopala, shout out Kenneth.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for subscribing.
Our first question.
Yes. I'm sure we'll put you on a Patreon list or something when we make t-shirts. But the first thing this week, I think we had a request from our own co-host Travis to see if we can break down this little old Seahawks Broncos upset that happened on Monday that we're all very pleased about. I'm pleased myself, other than the fact that I didn't get my Geno Smith didn't write back t-shirt in time to do the show, so that'll be for next week.
And for the record, I did predict a Seahawks win 16-13. Pretty close.
That's
pretty
good.
close.
Yeah.
I just want to take a victory lap.
Yeah.
Because I said if the Seahawks win, it will be a miracle. 2 fumbles inside the 1 yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Two fumbles. Nathaniel Hackett is an idiot. And then throughout the entire game about the Broncos, you know who the Broncos played like?
The Seahawks.
They played like the Seahawks. Like
totally
if
did.
you switch the jerseys, I think you have the same game that is played. Like, that was crazy.
I think if you played this game 10 times, I think 1 or 2 out of the times the Seahawks would win, and the rest of the times the Broncos easily take it. And I think we found the timeline where that 10th of a percentage gave us this crazy game and win, but not through our ineptitude, through the Broncos. And
I think we did what we're going to do every week, is put up about 17 points.
Right. This might be a functional offense. I don't know about fantasy implications, in the receiving game other than DK Metcalf. But but and drop Tyler Lockett. But functional enough to stay in games and stay competitive. But yeah, I don't see still any fantasy hope for the Seahawks. By the way, this is a Seahawks Chargers Ravens podcast. Trav?
Let's do this.
Okay, great.
We can talk from Lamar a little later.
Okay.
But I don't want to spend the entire podcast on this because I'll get sick. But Russell spent a lot of his time here at the Seahawks with the play clock getting down to like 2-1. Russell is not as cerebral as he wants to be.
Boom.
He's not as cerebral as he wants to be. He wants to be Manning, Rodgers. He's got too much going on in his head that is non-football related. Like, he's been in the league. This is his 11th season. I know it's on the road in Lumen Field. They got to change that. But like, how many, like at least 10 snaps were taken as the clock hit 0. He doesn't have the command that he thinks that he has. This might be an 8-9 Bronco team.
So you think this is more than just Rust Wilson shaking off the rust there and getting acclimated. This might be a symptom of a larger problem for the Broncos offense through
Is he
the
allowed to look at their playbook?
I mean, he had the opportunity to play his first game with the Broncos in the field he's most comfortable at.
yeah,
Is he allowed to
and didn't look
audible?
comfortable at all.
No,
It looked uncomfortable. That's the word. He looked uncomfortable. And I know there's a whole bunch going on, but like he's not as cerebral as he thinks that he is.
Emmys were going on. He dressed for the Emmys.
Right. But it's week 1. We love to overreact. Week 2, he's at home, his new home against Houston. So we're gonna know.
We're gonna know if they're 8
We're
and
gonna
9.
know one way or another.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I just want to put this out there before we move on to matchups. If the Seahawks 2023 Broncos pick is higher than the Seahawks 2023 Seahawks pick, phenomenal.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Let's move on to our matchups this week. We're going to start with Juicy J redraft. And I'm going to show my screen here.
I mean, first thing to note off the bat, just looking at the lineups here, interesting. We only have one matchup of 2 winning teams, which is Richard, the Intruders, 5th place versus Kenneth, the Crispy Sox, in 6th place. Everyone else, or all the other matchups, are against 1 win teams and 0 win teams.
Is anybody else able to share their screen? I'm gonna have to close Zoom and I don't have rejoin the meeting.
Got it.
Thank you,
Y'all
Tim.
see that?
Perfect.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yep, that's it.
Let's go ahead and start with Richard and Kenneth as the 2 undefeated 5th and 6th. They're right in the middle of the road, so they are both 1-0, but they also scored the lower end of points on the winners.
Okay. Yeah, is Clyde good now? He looked good. I don't think you can count on any like the usage is so schizophrenic, and we probably should have listened to Mahomes when he told us that we're really going to spread the ball around.
Right.
But he's passing the eye test for me this year. Doesn't look bad at all.
And if a down game for him is this, that's pretty good.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, so we've got Kenneth favored in this one. Boldly strutting Trey Lance out there. I think that's a good play this week. I think the Niners are going to be hungry and are not playing in a deluge like they were last week.
Weather forecast for Santa Clara.
Yep. And we did get a question for Kenneth. Shout out Kenneth for giving us our first listener question. He wanted to know which of his 4, that's right, I said 4 tight ends should he play this week. And currently he's got Taysom Hill in right now. But let's look at those other tight ends. Yeah, so he's got Njoku, he has Robert Tonyan, and Mo Alley Cox. I think you can drop him. I've been a believer, a hopeful in him just because of his gigantic status, but it's pretty clear he's not. He's either going to be left in to block. He's not the primary receiving tight end, so I would get rid of him. I do like Tanyan's chances for a touchdown this week. I know there's Njoku believers out there too, but I think Jacoby Brissett is just bad. So
starting lineup right now.
5 targets. I did not realize.
Yeah. So that would probably be my play, unless we're thinking that Taysom Hill is really going to be a one of those wild card, like he's going to get the rushes and the stuff near the goal line. But we might have different opinions on that, but I would probably stick Tunyon in there at tight end and drop Mo Alley Cox and pick yourself up another running back or wide receiver. I think it's also important to note that he's the tight end that you are facing is OJ Howard. So I don't know if this is your biggest decision of your lineup this week, but that's what I would go with there.
What is going to happen with Hill? Like,
he's going to.
When I click on his stats, it shows passing stats.
Peyton loved Hill. We have a new coaching staff.
Right. And we thought that they weren't going to be as in love with him as Peyton did, but we saw a lot of, gadget usage and like, honestly, had him in the game when things were competitive and they needed to get some yardage with him. So maybe not that the coaching staff isn't as in love with him, but they definitely value him as that sort of joker role and gadget plays. So he's going to be relevant, but I don't know after 1 week if I would invest in.
So it looked like that. Let's get a spark, because they were getting their behinds handed to them by the Falcons for about 3 quarters.
Yep.
And then the Michael Thomas cheat code was unlocked.
Yeah. Yep.
Which maybe I'll talk about in T-Dub's Bugs.
Yeah.
A little bit later.
As far as this matchup though goes, I think that this is going to be an upset, and I think that Rick is going to take this one. Not just because he has Jonathan Taylor and Josh Allen, but did you guys hear that Michael Pittman is questionable to play on Sunday? So he might not be out there, and if he's not out there, Jonathan Taylor is going to get 50 carries against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Josh Allen to Gabe Davis connection is for real. I don't know if I'd put Curtis Samuel in as my wide receiver 2 just yet, but I think that the points are going to fall in Rick's favor here.
I mean, either way, we got big money on Monday night. Rick has his Josh Allen, Gabe Davis stack, and Kenneth has Dalvin and Miles Sanders. So
yeah,
either way, this is going down to the very end. I think for sure.
Yeah, and that feels like a long week when you have players playing Thursday, Sunday, and a doubleheader on Monday.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about my stack attack of the week.
Do it.
And my stack attack, we'll get into even more later when we see another matchup, but my stack attack is Monday Night Football. We have a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. So right now on this matchup, we have Josh Allen and Gabe Davis. And I just want to highlight the fact that Gabe Davis, his snap count, I talked about this in my quick snap recap, but Gabe Davis had 98% of the snaps compared to Stephon Diggs at 64%. And I know that they were leading in that game. And I do think Stephon Diggs, I'm not worried about his snap count, but I want to speak to Gabe Davis being at 98%. Mm-hmm. So we got Josh Allen, Gabe Davis in the first Monday night matchup, but oh boy, the next matchup, we got the Minnesota Vikings going against the Eagles. And the Eagles, we got the stack attack of Hurts and AJ Brown, which, oh my goodness, AJ Brown, 13 targets, 10 receptions. Holy cow. That is for real. All the people that were worried about that, you don't need to be, because AJ Brown is on fire. And you have Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, who lit up the scoreboards in just the first half of last week. They didn't need to play anymore. So Monday Night Football, my doubleheader is my stack attack, because you have so many matchups and so many stacks that will determine so many fantasy matchups.
Sure. Yeah, great stack attack. Yeah. Cool. That's all my thoughts on this one.
Yeah.
Let's move on. And I think it's also important to know that in week 2, we're still kind of, as fantasy players, we're still looking for that second data point to kind of judge where we're going to go forward. And that means, to me, this week there's going to be a lot of maybe corrections to things that you didn't see last week. An example, just because it's on my team, is that Hollywood Brown did not get the targets that week, last week. And I think that they will do the thing where, the player speaks out, and ironically, because he's Antonio Brown's nephew, or right?
They are related.
Yeah, they are related.
Yeah.
I just remember Antonio Brown would do this a lot, and be the squeaky wheel that says, "Hey, get the ball in my hands," and then he would get 13 targets the next week.
Greg
So,
Dortch won't be the leading target
no.
again.
So we're going to see that with I think,
Or
quite a few
maybe you
players.
will. That's the thing. Week 1,
You never know.
what's going to
Yeah.
happen week 2.
That George kid was doing okay.
I lost my
Dortch.
50-50 bet on Isabella versus Dortch and went Isabella last week, if you remember.
Yeah, that's right.
But can we go to the crap farm versus
Yeah.
mandatory Stafford infection, since I already highlighted that Hurts AJ Brown stack?
Yep.
Yeah, Hops with a rough Thursday night.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Because
didn't get
Dalvin-
what he wanted from MVS and Kelsey. They did worse than just Josh Palmer.
Mhm.
This is just a reminder to all of you, including my brother Mike. You got to get your Thursday players out of the flex, put them in those starting positions, give yourself more flexibility later on in the week when people get injured.
Yep. Even though he did play the correct player in
Yes.
in Josh Palmer,
Mhm.
I think we're all fans of him. But speaking of that market corrections, there's a few guys on Haps's team that I feel like could readjust our expectations for them moving forward. And that start, I can see Matt Stafford blowing up against Atlanta. I
He's
think
my
this
start
is
of the week.
I think that Aaron Jones is going to go off this week. And then, ETN, watching the game last week, I know his stats didn't look all that great, but, we watched the games and the highlights, and he was, just briefly and just barely out of 2 touchdowns. And I think that he dropped one, and Lawrence overthrew one of them. So he's being used in kind of creative ways towards the goal line, and he's going to come down with a few of those. So I actually do like this a running back duo for Haps this week.
Don't overreact on ETN getting outplayed by James Robinson. They were about 50-50 on snap counts.
And then on the others,
Robinson is just a good back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's time to he's just good. Regardless of draft capital, the dude deserves the ball.
Achilles
I-
injuries.
yeah, no, even more so because of that
Yeah.
Achilles, because that claims so many needless running back fantasy careers, as we saw first week. Oh, Travis.
If Dylan Jones wasn't awful, they outscored their projections. That was the only offense that the Packers had. Nothing else. So never mind. They can have their projections. Packers ain't doing jack diddly squat until somebody in the receiving room emerges.
And that man is Alan Lazard, clearly, right?
Lazard King, get ready for a Pro Bowl season because he's getting 300 targets.
Yeah.
How strongly do you feel about Alan Lazard making it?
I'm drinking wine. I will not be taking board bets this season.
No, I don't. and this is something that's going to be up this week is players coming back from injury. When is it okay to go all in? Lazard is a guy, he probably will be playing. I mean, do you want to play him in his first game back? The same with, it looks like J.K. Dobbins is going to suit up too and go. And if that's if you play them, and I mean, always the smart move is to, wait a week if you can. But in a super deep 14-team league, that's better. That's easier said than done. So
then Cam Akers happens, and
that's true. Yep. Cam Akers happens, but James Robinson also happens. So
yeah. Yep.
I kind of want to play J.K. Dobbins in the leagues that I have him, mostly due to desperation at running back already. We're only in week 2. But yeah, I would probably bench Lazard for this week just to see where the targets go.
We did have another listener question from Hops.
Nice.
And he specifically said, why is my team falling apart? Well, let me quickly address that. Yes, you did acknowledge you have injuries. No, you have not put any of those players in the IR slot. You are missing an opportunity to pick up another player. So Hops, get one of these players who is inactive in your IR slot. Do we have one IR slot in this league right now?
We have 8 IR
That's what
slots.
I thought. So he's already missed the opportunity to get Keenan Allen in there. He has other opportunities. Because they are hurt, your wide receiver 1 is DJ Shark. That answers your question of why is your team falling apart. Yeah. You gotta get those dart throws. Go put them in. My dart throw of the week, Aaron Hops. This is for you. My dart throw of the week in the deep league is Mac Hollins. Because yes, we all know who Mac Hollins is, maybe. I know DT does. I bet he drafted him in many dynasty leagues early on. That was the biggest shocker for me. I did not know he was playing for the Raiders. And when I looked at the snap counts, Hunter Renfrow had 83% of snap counts and Mac Hollins had 88%. They were playing the Chargers. They were behind the entire game. Why Mac Hollins is on the field for 88% of the snaps, I don't know why, but snap count shows opportunity.
Totally.
And that tells me that Mac Hollins is at least the wide receiver 3, which might not mean much when Devontae Adams is the number 1. But when you're talking about deep league dart throws, Mac Hollins provides you with maybe a chance to at least have the opportunity.
Agreed. Great points.
Who are we taking in this matchup?
Well, I'll let you guys go first.
These projections right here.
I mean, I think this is easy with Aaron's best or second best player getting 50 yards. I think you have to go with the crowd.
I don't see the pathway.
Yeah.
Hurts and
Hey,
Brown.
when you scroll down to his bench, I'm just
Yeah.
I would not be starting Jacoby Myers this week after Mac Jones is having like back spasms and all that kind of stuff. But does he have very many options here to
Dortch?
Nope. That's going to be a nope for
Put
me.
him in.
Dortch or Walker or Phillips? Or it's a waiver wire
Tennessee's
pickup.
playing Buffalo, so they are going to be growing. I would probably put Kyle Phillips in. He looked really, really good. So I would make that switch to, and he's also a PPR player, just like Jacoby Meyer is. But I think the ceiling is definitely there because the New England offense doesn't know. They're really making it hard for us to try and project out the pass catches on that team, which means there's so many of them and the ceiling is so low that I don't want to touch any.
I think this is the matchup though where we are able to identify the top Titans receiver because they're playing the Bills. They should be throwing a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I agree with you guys. It's I think that this will be kind of a bounce back game for Hapola, but it's just not going to be enough to get over the Josh Allen, Gabe Davis stack and Jonathan Taylor. So
yeah, and
bittersweet, but
yeah. Congrats to my brother, the Crap Farm, for entering the world of 200-point plus projections.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's ever seen it before. I'm sure he's very excited.
Hurts.
Oh, and he's got Devontae Adams too. That's good stuff.
Yeah. All right.
Next matchup.
The one jumping out to me right now is the 2 0-1 teams. So let's go there next.
The two ladies, Smash and the Hard Man, Candace.
Ladies' night.
And speaking of Hard Man, got your 9 points, something.
Very
Black
Nicole
Swan.
Hardman game.
Yeah.
That's about like he gets 4 chances a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like his agent has to get him out of there.
Yeah.
It's not happening. McCaffrey did stuff last week.
A little bit.
I'm excited for that
Not-
game because
He
that's
didn't
going to
get
be
hurt. That's a start. 10 attempts, 33 yards.
I like that game too because that's McCaffrey and going up against Saquon. That would be like 2 years ago.
Right.
That would be like the prime time
Right.
showdown.
I mean, I think with McCaffrey, I think if he doesn't get hurt in week 1, you're happy. But man, if he didn't score that touchdown and he got 10 carries for 33 yards, I think people would be pretty anxious about that. So I still think he's definitely not back. And they've got Baker Mayfield as their quarterback, who looks worse than Sam Darnold did last year. So I mean, we'll see what happens. I think
I would like to do.
I think it's gonna be a really interesting game, Carolina versus the Giants
Yeah, I'm interested in watching.
in real football. Yeah.
I think I said last week that DJ Moore is
You did.
unlocked or something like that. I'd like to step away from that ledge. DJ Moore, I am back in. He will get 1,001 yards, and he will have 3 touchdowns.
That's what he does every year.
Generous
Yeah,
on the touchdowns.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this one is going to be it's going to be the Ashley Schmashley taking this one. Interesting move to put Devin Duvernay in as her wide receiver 2. I don't hate it, but she's got Elijah Moore down there.
Yeah.
Ugh. I'd probably put him in, but and drop Kadarius Toney. Apparently, there's been a setback this week in his recovery, which means he is firmly still in the doghouse.
Obviously, something's wrong because he had one time. I think it was a rush for like 17 yards or something like that, and he looked good, and then they took him out right away.
Yeah, I think that this is a relationship between him and the coaches thing. I get that he's probably a knucklehead in the locker room and stuff, but he is so very clearly their most electric receiving option. I mean, everybody watching the games can see that. So to not put the best player out there on your team to succeed, speaks volumes about what else is going on. Because I do think he's a really really gifted athlete and can make stuff happen. He does need some people to coddle him and like the memes about Kyler Murray over the off season, making him study film tape and but I probably wouldn't be holding on to him anymore in redraft leagues, but I mean he's so talented that I feel like it would just be dumb, especially with the Giants getting a win last week, to not put your best player in the receiving. I say in the receiving game. Clearly, their best player is the player on my team, Saquon Barkley. But yeah, I mean this matchup looks to go pretty clearly in Ashley's favor. Jason, did you have a question from Candace?
What's that?
Did Candace give us another question?
No, she just wanted to know when the podcast was was coming.
Super fan number one. We love you,
I did
Candle.
get a question from someone in our TPR league, from Phil, and he was asking, he wants to know when we think Brian Robinson Jr. is going to come back and start cutting into Gibson's workload. I'll start. I did a little bit of research. He is on I believe it's the NFI list. He is not eligible to come back until week 5.
Mhm.
He is out there on the practice field though.
Mhm.
He's running. His leg is heavily wrapped still. So I don't know what that means long term. You can run with bullet wounds. I don't know if he can take a hit though.
Forrest Gump taught us that.
But I will say, I think this week, obviously this week could be telling. Gibson had a pretty good week last week. I fought the urge to make him my start of the week at running back again this week, just out of respect of other players. I do think he could have a strong week against Detroit. And I think the Eagles had 4 rushing touchdowns across 4 different players last week against the Lions. So this could be a week where if Gibson blows up, then I think it makes it harder for Robinson. But Gibson did fumble last week, as he usually does. And I think if he fumbles again this week, I think those could be some determining factors as to how quickly Robinson could be pushed into playing time. Gibson has 3 more weeks to rebuild some trust, but if he keeps fumbling, that's what I think will be the determining factor of how fast we see Robinson Jr., assuming he's able to be back on the field.
Gibson can make Robinson irrelevant.
Yes.
This is his chance. Like, we look at Gibson's career, these 4 games, this is it. So he better ball out.
You better. I like all the players in this game. This commies against the Lions. I really like all of the start. We're not going to say this very often, but start your Washington pass catchers, running backs. Start your Carson Wentz, and then on the other side, start everybody you got over there as well. Including and what's the latest update on Swift? He's good to go for Sunday. He was a bit limited this week.
Practices with ankle, but I think he came out and said he was going to be okay. So we'll see. He hasn't been ruled out.
He's not.
And Jamal Williams is not a bad Hail Mary flex play.
Good.
What the flex?
We're getting this thing off the ground, bouncing around ideas.
Oh, Trav, you cut out.
Yeah, this is going to be one of our favorite segments in the show.
It gives them the opportunity to call it every week. Remember when I said?
Yeah.
Yep.
But I'll quickly wrap up this matchup. Yeah, I think Smash gets the edge. Candace needs a huge game from Debo and a huge game from Tom Brady in order for the upset, which could happen. Yep. Debo against the Seahawks, but I think she needs monster games from both.
Yeah, she does have a list of players who can score touchdowns, though. I will point that out.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
But I would say the fantasy game that I would target would have been, as DT said, the Commanders and the Lions.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's is it the Vikings and Eagles that has the largest over under?
Yes, I believe so.
I think it's like 54.
My stack attack game.
There you go. But the Vikings, that is a concentrated offensive experience. The ball's going to Jefferson, the ball's going to Cook. Maybe we'll get a little feeling. But the Commanders and Lions game is like 7 or 8 players that you could realistically start. Another target would have been Curtis Samuel. As you like, Tim, 71% snap share. It was in the 70s or something like that. I saw that. Yeah. And 11 targets. So he's healthy. Get it while you can. Curtis Samuel
while you can.
T-Dub's target.
I brought up my matchup just since I have Swift and we started talking about Swift. So figured that made sense to transition to my team.
Look at that live projection. 188.93 to 188.92.
Yes,
Ooh.
it is tight.
Yep.
Herbert delivered. I'll use this as my opportunity to talk about. He delivered. He got me some extra points with a very injured rib. Staley put his health on the line when they were down 10 points in the game last night. I, as a Chargers fan, was not happy about that. I will just have to accept that I obtained another extra 13 points or so from the yardage and touchdowns that he produced while hurt. So I will be interested to see if that is a determining factor in this matchup.
Well, if T. Higgins is still starting on Sunday, that's a big determining factor as well.
Right. I
He's
mean,
not
yeah,
passing.
Daigo definitely not listening to this podcast.
Yep.
Unlikely to check his team until Sunday. So does Dobbins play? Does T. Higgins play? If not, it's obvious who's going to win this matchup.
Yep. I
Dobbins
don't
is
think
gonna
T. Higgins
play.
is going to play.
Yeah.
I
Doesn't
do
look
think
like it.
Dobbins is going to play.
Dobbins is gonna play, but it's gonna be like 6 carries,
Yeah.
7 carries.
Yeah.
I will say the one piece I'm watching, and my heart hurts that I have Damian Pierce in so many leagues, and I'm suddenly in the position where I feel like I gotta bench him to see what he does. So the one swap I am considering is Mark Ingram, actually, because Kamara did not practice today. So I will be interested to see if Kamara is active on Sunday. We talked about, well, we haven't talked about this, but in August, it was all about this. Is he going to get suspended?
Mhm.
I will find it very interesting that if Kamara starts missing games because of injury, when he could just be suspended, and then he has to serve suspension next year. So I do have Ingram kind of waiting in the wings, and I will swap out Ingram for Pierce if Kamara is out. But
And you know damn well if you do that, Damian's going off.
and then I will, as a Damian lover, rejoice regardless.
Yeah. And as I'm looking for these market corrections, I see guys on your team, Tim, that could see it. Pierce being an obvious one. I think that Lovey was talking after the game about how they need to get the ball in his hands more. And I know that was said about a few players this week. But he could have a good game, at least show showcase some of the skills that was getting all that preseason hype. You're not going to get nothing burgers from Devonta Smith and Cole Kmet. They will catch passes, hopefully more than two, but you won't get zeros from them.
No, I will highlight Devonta Smith. I talked about him in quick snap recap super fast. AJ Brown, I believe, had 87% snap count. Devonta Smith did have 96% snap count. For people like me who were wondering if Devonta Smith was even playing in the game, he was on the field for almost every single play. So I'm not sure what contributed to the nothingness, and maybe part of it was them wanting to go out and show the world why they went after AJ Brown. But
maybe look at this picture here. Devonta Smith's Adam's apple is too large.
That is.
That looks like 60 pounds of him.
Looks like he photoshopped his face on top.
Looks
of
like a
face.
zero, much like the amount of receptions he received.
Yeah.
He can't carry that. What is going on there, man? Like
He was.
let's get into an otolaryngologist.
Yeah.
Like immediately.
He was open though on all of those. The routes that I watched a little bit of tape on that game, and he was open for most of his routes, and it was just a matter of Jalen Hurts not looking at him, not going through his read progression. It was just
Jalen
Hurts
Hurts
every time.
Also, not a great quarterback. He doesn't throw it very well.
Trey Lance is wishing to be Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
Yeah. So I agree with you, David. You said Devonta Smith, Cole Kmet, they shouldn't put up goose eggs. That's why I'm keeping them in my lineup. I won last week with them putting up goose eggs, and I can only hope that they improve upon their performances
Mhm.
and don't go out there, get a catch, fumble, and leave the game.
Yeah.
Don't
Well,
trust
and matchup wise, I think this is going to be pretty close if Daigo does do a switcheroo with T Higgins. I don't know if he will, but yeah, who does he have?
Doesn't have many
Chris
options.
Campbell.
I mean, Robbie Anderson, who put up
I would
100 yards
definitely
last
play
week.
Robbie Anderson there if Higgins is out.
It's probably his one viable option.
But yeah, I think Tim, you're gonna take this one, although it probably will be pretty close.
Darnell
It's a good
Mooney.
matchup.
Darnell Mooney and Jamal Williams could start.
I will appreciate. I'll give a shout out to Travis. I did pull Mooney last week after your horrible talk about him and saying you wouldn't play him, and I did swap in Christian Kirk for Mooney last week, who got me 23 points, and Mooney only put up like 1 point. So thank you, Travis, for that
Okay.
convincing argument.
And thank you, Travis, for trading
20
him
points.
him to
that might
me
show up
in
in T-Dub's
Dynasty.
bugs. That trade is looking awful right now, but we'll get there.
All right, what matchup do we want to look at? Do we have any between the two of any of us?
I think so.
No.
Doing
No.
what?
Okay, well, let's go to David. You are down 10 points on Scott in projections. Let's break this down
Yeah,
because of
let's
Mike
break-
Williams' big blow up game.
Oh yeah. Real quick, Jason, did you get to hear things off the waiver wire yet, or is that process tonight?
What's that?
There is a player in your league, one of your leagues,
Oh,
that
yes.
had dropped
No,
T.
that-
Higgins.
Yes. There may be some slight chance there may be some listeners from that league. So I prefer not to talk about it. Waivers do not go through until midnight on Saturday.
Oh wow.
Ooh.
Okay.
Gotta sit and wait.
Yes.
Okay.
Probably be
Dude.
nothing for the rest of the
Well,
year.
I hope you get Mac Hollins in that league.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so yeah, let's look at Scott. He's got Tua starting, Cup, Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs versus Arizona.
What DT, I want your take on this guy. I know it's a guy that you and I have loved. You've traded him to me in our Dynasty League TPR
Mhm.
last year when I was hurting for running back. What's your take on Jeff Wilson? You're going up against him. How are you feeling?
I'm not too. I think that his ceiling is going to be limited to about what the projections are. I think I see that around his ceiling right now, because we know who he is. He also is not the most healthy back in the world. Towards the end of last year, he started to look like he was slowing down and like as a whole, because I think he's like what 28, 29, I think.
Mhm.
So I would not hesitate to play him if he was on my team and I've just lost Elijah Mitchell, which I did. I would have no problem playing him in there in my RB2 slot, because I think that there's going to be a guaranteed floor of at least 10 to 14 carries for him. And if the Niners start to go off on the Seahawks, you could see many San Francisco backs picking up the ball. So I don't see that there's a especially with Lance there. I don't see the short yardage touchdown dependent Jeff Wilson, which is the reason I started liking this dude in the first place so much, is that he is and was a very good goal line back. And when you have that in a backup, he's one of the only backup running backs that I usually target in drafts. So the problem this year is that he's not only got a mobile quarterback that has the ability and will probably rush it in more than not, but you also have Deebo Samuel that's doing Deebo things out of the backfield, and they can get real tricky with it. So I don't think that this is going to be a very high scheme. I'll be surprised if Jeff Wilson gets a touchdown, but I think that he could rack up at least 80 rushing yards pretty easily against the Hawks.
I mean, just looking at the matchup, a lot of market correction players here too, with
Yes.
Kyle Pitts, Ramondre Stevenson, Rogers playing
Hollywood.
Sunday night against the Bears. Hollywood. Interesting. No, everyone is playing Sunday morning. No Monday night players in this matchup, and only one guy Sunday night, which is Rogers. So this will be determined early.
Yeah, I feel good about the Rodgers matchup. He owns the Bears.
I
And
own you.
he
I still own you.
and he is going to be
What an
feisty after that loss.
And the Rogers Crosby stack.
Yeah.
I was about to say, DT, good job on that kicker quarterback stack.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So who has? Okay, he's got. I don't know. I think I'm going to win this game.
I think you can take it. I think enough players, and Kyle Pitts is my tight end start of the week. They're playing the Rams. I think that he's going to have plenty of opportunities to make up for last week's disappointment.
Fine.
Yep, feel good about that too.
Dawson Knox had 1 point against Dawson Knox led my team to victory with his 1 point.
Yep.
Why is
Okay. So we're moving on to Net about it. Versus
Against
Tap
last
Bass.
week's upset of the week.
Yep. We
Emily.
called it wrong. Emily.
It was our lock of the week was for Emily to lose, but she won. And she's probably going to win again against moi.
Oh,
Tannehill's not
you.
Tannehill's not bringing you projected points. That's for sure.
No.
Last week was rough. I lost Dak. Now Ryan Tannehill is starting for me. Juju was horrible on Thursday Night Football. Yeah.
I will
Pittman's questionable. Fournette's questionable.
Yeah.
Lazard back.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I'm looking at wide receivers down to Nick Chubb. So she's got Lamar, Stephon, Waddle, and Chubb. I think they're all going to have great games. The Browns play the Jets.
Yep.
And that's and then at tight end, I don't like this guy, but Dalton Schultz is going to get targets. And then she's got Lazard in at the flex, which is
If he plays,
that's what those flexes are there for. I think that let's scroll down a little bit.
does
and
she have
see
an
what-
out? That's the
for Albert O. I don't know if I would play him. Peoples Jones,
Peoples. Yeah.
Dubs.
Oh,
Oh, she
Oh.
got some empty. She got an empty bench spot.
Yeah,
She's got an IR eligible. She could definitely pick up a few players that might. And she does have Dubs to swap out for Lazard. He is not active.
Yeah, I'm looking at a rough start to this season. I'm okay with it. I'm still feeling okay. Got my team in the long term.
Got some trades in play. Trades in
I think
mind.
the only way I have a chance is I need Tannehill to rush in a touchdown or two and
Or pass one to Henry.
or pass one to
which never happens.
right, right. And then Robinson needs to do similar to what he did last week, as does
Yeah.
Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
And Pittman and Fournette have to be healthy.
Yeah. But I see the opposite end where she's playing Gainwell, Schultz, Lazard, Albert O. All of those players could put up 2 points each.
right.
very much. So,
So
Definitely,
it's-
she's definitely got a higher floor than me this
Yeah,
week. for sure.
but a very, out of
Yeah.
any matchup,
Yep.
she
Jason,
might be the one to play.
you're rolling with Evans Hurts as your tight end. Are you? What's your take on him this year?
mean, he was first round pick a couple years ago. He was always, on teams with. He was behind Mark Andrews. I think this is kind of he got, I believe 8 targets last week.
Mhm, mhm.
And I think he got overthrown in the end. In the end zone once. So I think this will be an interesting week to see if he's a viable top 15 tight end or he's Hayden Hurst.
Okay.
Hurst we knew.
I dig it. He's definitely on the right team to bolster those
Especially if T Higgins is out, that's gonna be huge for him too.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got boy band against Scourge of Carpathia.
Let's go.
Got a nice treat from Mahomes, which is crazy to say that 235 yards and 2 touchdowns is a gift, but that is much better than
34
week 1 performance. Yeah.
Taken.
And then, like you said, Kamara's banged up.
DJ Moore, you've already projected, will not score a touchdown.
Right. CD with Rush in at quarterback.
Yeah.
Penny and with Kenneth Walker third coming in.
That Darrell Henderson, I think, is going to be a key. Can he bring? I think it was 82% of snaps last week. Is he going to get that again, or will they work Akers back in more?
I feel like they have to.
They will, but I think that they're gonna beat up pretty bad on the Falcons, but I think it's gonna go in reverse order than it did last week, where Henderson comes out as the starting back for sure, and then they'll try and maybe establish once the game is ahead to throw Akers in for a couple of possessions to see if he's still running. But yeah, I think Henderson's a great play this week. I like that.
This week we won't have to worry about Henderson after week 6.
No, probably not. And that's goddamn Kyron Williams. You were supposed to. So what happened in a few dynasty leagues? You were supposed to be like the play for both of these often injured backs, is that he was supposed to come up from both of them and be like, just kidding, I'm the starter of the ship now. But he is unfortunately on IR, and I think he's going to be for a long time. On the boy band side, we got
probably my start of the week, Russell against, in Houston. The Denver home opener against Houston, coming off a loss, like with all the Russell memes going around, he's either going to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, or there's going to be more memes. So he's got to.
He is embarrassed.
He
was embarrassed. That was a.
Trav, you're frozen.
Or thinking really hard.
Yeah.
He's thinking about jumping with me. He has another start of my week, and that's Ezekiel Elliott. I think with Dak out, Rush in, you got to rush, and not with Cooper Rush. So I think when you're talking about playing a Cincinnati Bengals team who has the offense to explode, you have to keep the ball out of their hands. The only way to do that is to feed Zeke. So I think Zeke is a good opportunity for a start of the week. I don't know if he's going to have that touchdown upside that you want, but I think he's going to have the opportunities. And my strategy in fantasy is always to play the guys with the volume and the opportunities. And I think Zeke is going to have plenty of it this week as they try and keep the ball out of Burrow's hands.
Trav, you cut out when you were talking earlier.
Yeah,
another great point that you wanted to share.
The internet for next time. I've got to figure out the internet for next time. But can I hit a bug?
Yep.
Why is Zach Moss projected for 15.5?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
And why is he your RB2? That's another question.
Because I have Pacheco.
Let's take a look at who he's got down there.
His bench.
Boston
He-
Scott.
He's got
Tyler.
Pickens. Oh, okay. So
Yes, okay,
is
that's
he-
why. Although,
oh,
yeah.
right. That's right. Trav's running backs are
Forgot about
very
that.
thin. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. That's
Boston
why.
Scott did score a touchdown for you last
Yeah.
week against me.
He'll probably score a touchdown this week
Probably, yeah.
because the Eagles may just get down like that. But
And-
like, I don't understand the projections. Like Yahoo has Zach Moss projected for 6.8 attempts and 31.2 yards.
Yeah.
CBS Sports has Zach Moss projected for 8.5 attempts and 32.4 yards.
But did he?
They have Devin Singletary projected for 8 attempts and 48 yards on Yahoo. And on CBS, did I miss? I missed my Singletary projections for CBS. But what is up with the the Bills coach?
Yeah, I just don't think I don't know what they're doing. I can't speak for it. I can say that James Cook did not give the most favorable first impressions with that
Yeah,
fumble, but they put him back in the game towards the end, didn't they?
a little bit, but I don't think he touched the ball though, did he?
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
But I
this
think
is-
I mean Buffalo's like the best offense in the league, or I mean at least top 3 with the most confusing backfield, which I think is just so it's like somebody's gonna do something, and so they have to project some points out of there. Points are coming from someone back there, so
Mhm.
that is kind of a hard. But yeah, when you look at Zach Moss projected for 15.5 and Alvin Kamara projected for 18.5, like what?
Yeah,
It's high
Making sense.
for. I would understand it in a PPR scoring
Right.
because that is where Moss put up his points last week. I don't understand it in standard scoring.
Yeah.
Brutal.
But historically, does Josh Allen really pass to his backs that
That's what
often?
makes me worried even more about Moss is
It is not.
like, was that his ceiling last week
Yeah.
with the catches?
Yeah.
All right, Travis, I'm going to pitch to you. You helped me out last week. So I'm going to pitch to you. My start of the week is currently on your bench, and that's Brandon Ayuk.
Oh man.
Brandon Ayuk was 2 targets for 2 catches and 40 yards and 1 rush for 7 yards last week.
In the monsoon.
For those of you who were not aware, Chicago got 4 to 6 inches of rain in that game. It was a mess. Trey Lance only completed 13 passes, but I'm going back to my snap count because that's what I'm highlighting this week. And Brandon Ayuk was in on 99% of the snaps. He was out for 1 snap. Debo was in for 82%. Mitchell is out. Debo could be called upon to do more rushing sweep
Kittle's out,
plays.
too.
Kittle is
Like the
up in
TBI.
the air. Who knows with Kittle? So they're playing at home against the Hawks. I think if Ayuk can get 40 yards in a monsoon where Debo is running opposite, I think Ayuk could have an awesome week. So I'm pitching that to you as my start of the week.
Would you start Ayuk over Bateman?
You said it yourself. You were hot for the Lions Commanders matchup. So that is who I would play him over.
I'm not benching. I'm on Raw.
No,
With Sun God.
can't right now.
So that's
But man,
a tough call, but
Lance.
my pitch.
Yeah.
Lance is like I need to see it
Yeah.
before I believe it.
Right. I mean, I think at this point, like, I think you're going to win. I think you're going to win this week. If you were projected to lose, or I thought you were going to lose, then I think Ayuk has a higher ceiling. But I think Bateman's probably a little safer at this point.
How many targets did he see? How many targets he ended up with? He had 5 targets
Yeah, that's true.
against the Jets. So they didn't,
Yeah.
24-9. They're playing Miami.
If it wasn't for
Miami
that,
has
what do you call it, like a
stars
40-yard?
Like amazing.
Airball.
Like, is it Xavier Rhodes? Like, who does?
Yeah.
I mean, no Patriots players really stood out last week against Miami.
You know, I
It's
might.
also the Patriots.
And one of the fantasy bummers of week one was Devin Duvernay stealing 2 touchdowns from Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman. With that contextualized, that would make me put Ayuk in over Bateman. I would, and I love Bateman. But I just want to see, because we are
Master Bateman, how have we not come up with that yet?
Yeah, I want to see if that's going to, if Lamar's going to continue to look Duvernay's way, and he looked good. Like he's been on a lot of sleeper lists for good reason. He's a good athlete, but yeah, I there's a little mix up in the pecking order of the Baltimore wide receivers, and I think that there's no question that Ayuk is going to be a strong 1B to Devo's 1A this week. So
Smell a board bet. I smell a board bet.
I'll take a board bet on Ayuk over Bateman in standard scoring.
Okay, let's do
I've
it.
been drinking wine.
Are you gonna take Bateman even after siding with me, DT?
Oh no, I thought you were going to go Bateman.
No, I'm
on the
taking
Bateman
Ayuk.
side.
He's my start of the week.
Yeah, no, I'm on the Ayuk side.
Okay.
I don't feel strongly enough to do it. But
What does the wine say, Travis?
yeah.
I mean, I am not on this board bet. I am not on this board bet.
All right, let's go to the
have this recorded and be on the record. But
let's go to the
I am
next
moving
matchup.
Bateman into the starting lineup. I
Okay.
can't. Lance, I can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like
it would be great to start Ayuk over Moss if you had that option, obviously.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
there,
Alright.
that goes the depth of wide receiver.
Has anyone seen the Candace text of a trade analysis? There's a
No.
text of trade analysis.
Analyze this, please. I can go ahead and read it.
offer from DT. David offered Candace Julio Jones for Chris Olave straight up.
Look at her play the trade. She has us live here.
Candace says, analyze this, please. It's an immediate no from me, but would love to hear your thoughts.
No, why is it an immediate no?
Make your case, DT.
Well, I think that number one, Julio looked fantastic on a team that's got Tom Brady throwing in the ball. There's
Who
plenty of
is
injuries.
Candace's quarterback, by the way?
Is Candace's court, so she could get a stack from this. Thank
Right.
you, Jason.
Back?
Yeah. And then Chris Olave is on a team that is being led by Jameis, one of my favorites, but there are 3 different receivers that are all proving their worth to be fed. In Jarvis looked great. Michael Thomas, he's back. And Chris Olave looked good. I think he got he didn't get too much in terms of fantasy points, but it's basically choosing. Jameis is only going to be able to feed 2 receivers at most here. So on any given week. And so you're going with Julio Jones as a lock and load play if he's playing on Sunday for this team. He looked fast. They were using him very creatively. I just have an abundance of these late round receivers, and I'm unfortunately playing this like a dynasty league, and I know that's a mistake, but I do see the upside with Olave, and I can see him emerging towards the end of the year. but Julio's a player that you can get into your matchup now and win those few weeks. And
Yeah,
I'm using
Candace.
my hubris to
Accept the trade, Candace.
come
What are
on.
you scared?
This is
Chicken?
basically like, do you want to win now, like the first part of the season, or do you want to see a young player emerge towards the end of the season and take a chance on that? And
He's
not only
probably
that,
gonna suck. So you just trade him away, Candace.
so
I
I feel like it's a
support
pretty
that. Yeah, I will support that argument in that if you want an immediate return, I think Julio is the better short-term play. With that trio, Landry, Thomas, Olave, what I was shocked to see is that Olave had the highest snap percentage of the three, which is crazy. I reviewed that in my quick snap recap, but it was close. But you're right. Godwin is banged up. He's hurt. Julio, assuming he stays healthy, should be like a go-to guy for Brady. He is a safe guy. Like Brady will trust a veteran like nobody's business.
Yeah.
He came back to play, not to throw it to rookies. He did not come back to play to throw it to Cameron Brate. He came back to throw it to players like Julio Jones.
Speaking of Cameron Brate and Julio Jones, I just want to highlight that we do have an outstanding board bet between DT and Trav, which is who will have more fantasy points in 2022. Travis says Cameron Brate and DT says Julio Jones. Interesting.
And we had wine on that one as well.
Yep.
Julio is going to play 6 games. Brate is going to come back.
That's true. I'm not expecting a full season out of Julio, but when I do, when he is playing on the field, I liked what I saw, and there is a energy to Julio's game after watching last week's game that wasn't there in Tennessee, and to me that's obviously because he is on a actual contending team, even though the Titans were the number 1 seed last year. But I mean, I think that he's drinking the vegetable smoothie that the plant man's giving him, and is all in on this year. And I think he's going to play as accordingly.
It is irresponsible to run that man on fly sweeps.
That's right.
Yep.
Was that the last matchup? We got them all? I think we did, right?
Okay.